All right. It's been a long time. We shouldn't have left you without some raw ball takes to step to. This is Running with War, a special Sunday edition. This is rare that we put out something on a Sunday, but we've been a while since we've done a show, about a couple weeks at least. So I want to get back on track with things. You know, a lot has changed. A lot of things have gone on, developed under the bubble. We're in the conference finals now, and we're using this today as sort of a pregame. Uh, if you're watching the Western Conference Finals, you could watch us. Forget about Turner. Just rock with us going into the game, or you could leave them on mute like I got it. But this being a Sunday too. Me and Drew was talking about it just before you got on, Josh. It seemed like you're off in a football mindset, and you know, I'm gonna talk about that plenty on Facebook at 9 o'clock. So that's my plug for that Sunday night special. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, not on YouTube. But I'm glad to have this time to talk to you guys. So thanks for making time out your Sundays and joining me, and getting another show off. And like I said, nothing, even with football in the mix. Like if you never see this before, where you have football competing with playoff basketball. But even still, the NBA still got a lot going on. There's no lack of things to talk about. So let's just get going. What's first off, of course, you have the conference finals. You got the East. Miami jumped out to a 2-0 lead. It looked like Boston was sort of caving in and crumbling there for a minute, but they played a nice game yesterday, last Saturday night, and got it to 2-1. On the other side, on the West, you got the Lakers looking a little like indomitable in some way, but we still know that Denver can play from behind. They're not a team that's scared to play with a deficit in a series. And they just have a lot of talent. You never know who can rise up with them. Of course, you got Nurkic and Murray leading the way, but they got a lot of players around them too. So you never know who might could get hot with that team and maybe cause the Lakers some trouble. But it seemed like the Lakers got some specific matchup advantages still, and LeBron just hasn't been had to work hard so far. So if they're winning and he's not working hard, you have to wonder what it's going to be like if he gets pushed. But they right in time for my intro. Let's get the fourth member of our squad in, Mr. Chris Pennant. How you doing, Chris?
What's up, y'all, man? I don't know if y'all have ever done intermittent fasting, but it kind of throws some things off sometimes. So I just ate a lot, so I'm a little slow. But anyway, see what I do out here.
Yeah, you got to deal with you gonna deal with the itis with us for a little bit.
Hey, I'm gonna work through it.
You working through the itis, man. That's admirable, to say the least. But thank you for joining us, Chris. I think the other guys just before you came on make time for your Sunday to be with us. Like I said, we haven't done the show. It's been a little while. We had a little layoff, but just want to get back to things to catch up on things with what's going on. A lot has happened since we last got together. But I just I was about to throw it to Drew and Josh just about these conference final series and what's going on so far. So just however you want to go in on these two series. What's been interesting to y'all about these two matchups so far.
What's interesting to me is that Giannis ain't in it, man. Milwaukee. Milwaukee was so horribly underwhelming. It was mind-boggling. And this is a city that has had championship opportunities in baseball and basketball the past 2 seasons now, notwithstanding this baseball season, and hasn't come through, man. Wisconsin is dying inside. Aaron Rodgers is getting old. The Brewers are missing out on chances, and the Bucks had the world in their hands and they lost it. So we'll get to that in a second. I am if Miami can win Game 4, I think they're in the finals. If they lose, I think Boston comes back only because actually I won't go that far. I think Boston could take it to 7. This is really a time for Brad Stevens to show what kind of coach he is, because he's been a very highly regarded coach that hasn't gotten his teams to the point of accomplishment yet. They've had some very good victories in series where they had no business winning. That squad that took Cleveland to 7 games in the conference finals. This team with, he underperformed with Kyrie, but that was a whole chemistry hurricane. But this has got to be his team that can beat Miami, because Miami is a collection of very good parts. Jimmy Butler and Eric Spoelstra. If Brad Stevens and his team can win, then he can finally be recognized as one of the top 3 or 4 coaches in the league right now. If he loses the series, especially if they lose without winning if they lose without winning 2, probably 3 games, we got to question him.
I think that's interesting to bring up the respective the respective narratives with both coaches right now in that series, because Stevens has been looked at as sort of a wonderkind or a prodigy going back to Butler. It helped his success there, did a lot to get him that job at Boston. Pretty much did everything to give him that job. And Boston has had a great deal of success while he's been there, but there's still been a hump that they haven't been able to get over. And they're reaching about that time again where it seems like they just slow down and they can't get past that ultimate challenge that they have in the Eastern Conference Finals. But on the other side, you have Spoelstra, and there's been a lot of just seeing a lot of people talking online about his legacy overall. And he does have a legacy now dating back to the LeBron and the big 3 Heat and everything. And I really have to say I've done some rethinking about his legacy myself. He was a guy who I never really gave his complete due respect. I never dissed him, but at the same time, it's like you won your titles with teams who should have won, and at the same time, you probably should have won at least one more with that team. But when you look at what he's done since then, he really has been an ideal coach, at least in that organization with that system. And he's maintained new successes through new talent, which is what you want to see in a coach. He hasn't just been that one team that he's won with. And, his teams just seem to work the right way for him. They play the right way. They never really beat themselves. And he's in a position now to get to a final without LeBron, without Dwayne Wade. And that'll be a big joke to Spoelstra's legacy if he can do that.
Yeah, I mean, Boston and Miami I think this is the first time that they're meeting up since LeBron actually went to Miami and played in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it's 2012, maybe. Since that happened.
Look that up. Yeah, we have to look that up. But it's been a while. You're right.
Yeah, it's been a while. So we always know that anything related to Miami and Boston, just because of the historical rivalry between the two, is always going to be spicy and interesting. And I think what makes this year so unique is because of the Jimmy Butler factor. Jimmy Butler, many have viewed him as, just an all-star who can play, but you can't maybe win through him. And he's proven that, no, I can be a superstar-led player within a proven system. And that's what Miami has always developed, as a proven system. And when you put someone like Jimmy Butler that fits the DNA of Miami, and they get the right pieces around him, with the emergence of the shooting of Duncan Robinson and Tyler Herro as of late, you're you're asking for a nice recipe that can go further than what many people can see them going, and it's worked. But at the same time, Boston is also they seem like they finally got the wake up call, and they came, like you said, they came back in Game 3 and took over that game. So it's going to be interesting, a back and forth dogfight. But at the end of the day, is like Chris mentioned, it's not going to come down to necessarily playing who plays the best, but who coaches the best. Spoelstra seemed like he had Boston on their heels with that zone, but has Boston really figured that out yet? Maybe they just got lucky with Game 3, but you don't really know that. So we gotta. I think this series is, like Chris said, the battle of the coaches, and you just really see who's going to really take their team coaching wise to the next level. And when you talk about Denver and the Nuggets and the Lakers, I think this is more of a complementary role type of series, just because we know the superstars are going to show out. Jamal Murray's going to show out. Jokic is going to show out. LeBron shows out. And for the most part, AD does show out. So now it's the complementary pieces around the teams that are going to emerge. And we've seen that emerge, especially since the return of Rajon Rondo for the Lakers. He's been huge in maintaining that Lakers tempo and really setting the tone for the Lakers team, especially when it comes to transition. And you also saw an emergence of Alex Caruso as well. Caruso has really played a good backup role, especially when he plays in the same lineup at the same time with LeBron James. That plus minus factor within that lineup with those two together is I think it's been recorded as one of the best lineups the Lakers actually have to go with when you have Caruso and LeBron on the same court together, and it's shown. Denver, you just have to see who's going to really show up. Is MPJ going to show up on a consistent basis like he has throughout the bubble? Are we going to have a surprise like Jeremy Grant? Are we going to have a surprise like Gary Harris? Denver, like Kyle mentioned, Denver has a lot of talent, but how do you fit it all together against a team with so much experience like the Lakers do? And especially since they have the king and King James, that is the king of knowing what it means and what it takes to put your guys in the best positions possible to succeed and take your team to the highest of heights. So I think those are the main factors that play a role in both of those series, but they're both going to be very intriguing to watch.
Yeah,
I gotta ask quick.
Right quick, Chris. Last time was 2012 for the Heat and Boston in the playoffs. That was in the 3 straight years that they met in the postseason. But go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say at first, I think the popular notion was to give Eric Spoelstra short shrift because he was LeBron's coach, and the idea was always that LeBron was the actual coach of the teams. But I mean, we all know at this point that Eric Spoelstra is a quality coach in his own right. That Pat Riley got to Miami for a reason. So that's aside. What Josh mentioned, I actually want to ask this: do y'all think Jamal Murray is a superstar now?
I'd say he's on the cusp.
Yeah,
but he is. Yeah, it's hard to really. I think you need time coming out of this bubble to really, put everything in context. What happens here? Because a lot of stuff may happen in this bubble that may not carry over to outside it. So I think we need to see another year or two before we could say that, like something like that, like Murray's a superstar.
Okay,
he's definitely a star. And he's a key player, but if somehow Denver maybe wins, gets to the finals, or even somehow wins it, and he's definitely going to be important in doing that, then maybe you can make that argument. But if they just peter out in this series, and he just whether he scores or not, and they just don't have enough to get past the Lakers, I wouldn't necessarily put him as a superstar.
Yeah, I would say going back to just looking at these 2 conference finals, I think we all wanted the battle of the LAs, and that not getting that is kind of as disappointing as never getting that Kobe LeBron finals. But this Miami-Boston series is a hell of a consolation, man, because you got 2 very evenly matched teams, 2 very adept coaches who seem to be able to adjust on the fly. Man, those first 2 games could have went the opposite way. You know, just as they went Miami's way, Boston still could have hung on to those games. And I think that's the way the majority of this series is going to go. Even last night, with Boston being up, it seemed like double digits the whole game. Miami was kind of
you was just wait. You was just wait. I was waiting on it, Drew.
Yeah, man. But this time, I think Kemba and Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown they were just able to answer more oftentimes than not the bail that they weren't able to answer in the first two games. So I'll be interested to see how this next couple of games go. So before the Lakers Nuggets series started, I thought, okay, the Nuggets probably gonna get this first game because LA seems to be caught up in this whole filling out process of the first game of the series. But now that they took game one, I'm almost like, man, they might mess around and sweep these dudes, man, and get them up out of here quick.
Like Barkley with the broom.
Like Barkley. I hate being put in that type of category with Charles Barkley because you know how his predictions go, but but just they just don't seem to mess around with teams too much. Once they kind of figure out what it is you're trying to do, they mash that foot down on the gas even harder. And you got two of the best players on the court at all times. In my opinion, it's going to be LeBron and AD. So with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if they sweep them. I might give the Nuggets a game at most, but like I said, I thought their best chance was trying to steal that first game.
Yeah, we predicted before on our last show. I think we all predicted that it was going to be the Battle of LA, but you know, of course, that doesn't happen, and we'll go into that in a little bit about we'll give a post-mortem to the Clippers in a little bit. But as far as the Nuggets go, let's just size them up right quick for the remainder of the series. Like, do they have any chance beyond a sweep or a gentleman's sweep?
I'll give them a game. Yeah, I mean, I'll give them a game. But you talk about going against LeBron and AD. LeBron is even like King James of of these major series just yet. Like he's just taking his time, and for the most part, AD's been running the show. So it's like you asking for that, and you haven't seen it yet, and normally like Drew said, the first game LeBron normally just gives him that game because he's trying to fill him out. They took it this time, so it's like I don't know. It's hard to bet against LeBron James to a point where you're saying, you know, Denver can have a chance to come back even though they're proven. Like I think the situations and scenarios are totally different. I mean, the Clippers never really gelled since the season started because they were never fully healthy, and they never fully had the time frames of just really getting the whole roster together. I mean, even in the bubble. Yeah, they were predominantly healthy within the bubble, but Patrick Beverly was hurt half the time. Lou Williams was gone to get his wings before he got quarantined. And then you got Trez that missed almost all the regular exhibition games due to his situation. He came out just in time for the playoffs, so he wasn't his full self. I don't think, and obviously you have to question Doc Rivers' coaching as well, which is something that he has a historically bad record of when it comes to giving up 3-1 leads in the playoffs. So,
but Josh, let's just stick with Denver for now. I said we'll get to the Clippers in a little bit, but you say you give them one game.
Yeah, I'll give them a game.
Yeah, what about Drew, Chris? What about y'all?
Drew, you got it first, man.
I'm gonna say they're gonna sweep them, man. I think they're gonna get them out of here in 4 games, man.
Okay. Chris?
It's tough with that Lakers roster to argue against anything longer than 5 games because it's so good. And like you said, LeBron hasn't, like Josh said, LeBron hasn't really, gone LeBron mode. And it's wild, right? It's the conference finals. You expect LeBron, when he's right, to get to and through the conference finals. I would have to go back, and I was compiling some stats just on a whim a few months back when it was still like dark early. So this was before the summertime. about LeBron's record in elimination games and then in closeout games, and they were about equally good. So if he has a chance to close out, he doesn't usually miss out. And that's if the Nuggets can get to, say, game 6. At the same time, they were on the cusp of getting to the conference finals last year, and they were pissed off about missing that chance. And they've really shown it. They came back from 2-3-1 deficits this season, this playoffs. Jamal Murray is leader isn't the right word. It's kind of overused. He's a dude with a chip on his shoulder who wants his squad to win badly. And Nikola Jokic is just kind of a man, that dude looks like somebody who came off the water polo team to play basketball, man. They don't have a lot of like playoff experience on their team overall. They got Paul Millsap, and it's kind of thin after those 3 guys. No disrespect to Monte Morris and Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. just hasn't proven himself yet. I want to give them 2 games because of that crew, because they want it that badly, and because Michael Malone, again, coaching factor. I think Michael Malone, if you put him in a room with Frank Vogel and said, if you put the 2 of them in an escape room, I think Mike Malone's getting out first. But I can't go any further than game 6.
That's good analysis. I never thought of it.
I was thinking about it. I was like, how do you like accurately compare those two? It's like if you put the both of them in an escape room, Mike Malone's finding the clues. He's getting the key first.
Okay. To that degree, I would say that I give Malone and Denver the coaching advantage, and that may be key in regards to adjustments and stuff. And they're gonna have to make some adjustments, as Bill Withers said back in the day, to get back in this series. This tonight will be key. I think they can't just get off to a good start. They have to finish strong. And if they have any chance of winning this game, they gotta show some force on the Lakers, man. I don't know how they exactly gonna do that because Nurkic, he can be that. Not Nurkic, Jokic could be. I always mix them up, but he could be that. Joker can be that type of player, and I like to see that type of player who closed out Utah and really got into Gobert. He got to do that with whoever's out there with the Lakers, be it AD or whatever matchup he winds up getting, AD or Dwight or JaVale. He gotta knock them around some. So I want to see that from him. I want to see him be able to collapse that defense and be able to get some open shots for people like Murray. So make him have to work less harder. So if they win this game tonight, the series could be up in the air right away. But I would expect them to win at least one of these next 2 games. It may be more like the situation we have in the East where you're not looking that well. Like Boston wasn't looking that well after 2 games, but they show some revival in game 3. So, but to that degree, I'll just throw out it'll be a 6-game series because the Lakers aren't in a position where they're being tested right now, but they want to get tested before they get to the finals, and that may take them losing a game that they shouldn't lose. So I'll just throw that out there as a variable since y'all are all like one game is talking like that.
When you say it like that, that makes it seem like they'll kind of put one in the deep freeze. Like, okay, let's lose one. That's
always possible with LeBron.
Is LeBron operate? Am I just out of the loop? Is LeBron operating on that high of a level where he's like, we can lose this one game?
But he just, I don't know if he's doing it consciously, but he's at times he lacks that he just lacks that extra effort that he needs. That that I'm trying to think of what I'm blanking on, but he just lacks that thing where it's like, we just have to win now. That intensity,
Yeah, I mean,
he may be more caught up still in the MVP vote, which we'll get into later as well. You know, he may still be tripping off that, which that when we think of it may work against the Nuggets. So I don't know. I'll say I'm just throwing that situation out there where I think they may win tonight or win in the next two games and still maybe game another game like game 5 or something. Because I would say the Nuggets do play well when they're faced with elimination. They have played well when they're faced with elimination. So we can't just disregard that as well. So,
I just pulled this spreadsheet up, and it's pretty in terms of that closeout games spreadsheet that I just decided to make. I'm a super math nerd. It's sometimes dormant, but I'll give LeBron from 2013 to the year before last, when he missed the playoffs last year. He won all but 2 closeout games that he faced. Now, a lot of those were basically just when he had a chance to win, he won.
How many of those were before the conference finals?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, he didn't lose a game. He didn't lose a closeout game before the conference finals for 6 seasons. So when they had a shot, the last real test that they had was in 2014. And that's only because they were down in every game in that Boston series until they won it. So that's saying something. Because I can't there. Oh, I put a different tab on it. So that goes to elimination games. That's wholly different.
Okay, that's but like I said, you have to. There's still a process when we get to that point. Like Josh said, they do. He's given up a lot of first game ones and stuff too. So there's times where he plays into a series like that, and I don't know. We'll see though. We'll see. But there's one thing I want to get to right quick.
The Clippers?
Yeah, there's that, but there's one other thing. Let me see if I can think of it right quick.
I'm ready to cook the hell out of them boys.
Hell, let's do it then. Let's see if the other thing gets to me.
Go on, get him, Chris. Go on, get him, man.
Man.
Let me do a little intro before we let Chris cook. The Clippers, bad. Everything is bad with them right now. They give up a 3-1. It's the third. I think the third time Doc has done it in his career. 2 times with Clippers, and they just like Josh got into it a little bit. They weren't a perfect team in their behavior, but I think a lot of people just did, including myself, disregard. I had them at least get into the conference finals. I wasn't someone who was jumping out the window with them as a champion because, again, it's still the Clippers. But they had the talent. They had the depth. They had enough to get up 3-1 in this series, but they just let everything go. It's in a ridiculous way. And, Paul George gets a lot of the discredit for it, but, you got to look at Kawhi, too. Kawhi, is he the same guy that he even was last year? You got to look at Doc. Just how much does Doc add in these situations? If he has a championship, but he had a great big 3 in that series, in that season. When it comes to a team that needs a little bit more to get over, just how much does he add to the equation? You have to think of that. Like I say, you got to think of the role players. What did they do to add? Montrezl Harrell and Williams and all these guys. Like, what did they really add to the equation when the time was called on them to make differences in games? They just got a lot of issues, man. And before we talk about any future stuff with them, just looking at the present, you have to question we have to question what we saw in them to begin with. So I don't know. That's just the intro for me. Chris, you could run with it however way you want, but they deserve a lot of criticism right now. Some people say it's one of the worst choke jobs in the playoffs ever. I don't know, but it is definitely one of the worst. You have to say that.
After winning, they split the first 4 games with Dallas in the first round and then won 2 straight to close out. And they blew them out in game 5. They had, let me be simple about it. Good teams compete in the playoffs. Great teams win. I'm gonna be that simple about it. When you have a team down 3-1, and again, this is a Nuggets team that we said was pissed off last year after they had the chance to beat Portland to go to the conference finals. They were in the same position here. Except they were down. You got to understand that, see that, and you have to choke the life out of that team. You have to let them punch, absorb those blows, and rope-a-dope them like Ali did. When you have the team 3-1, as much star power as the Clippers lined up, as much as we hyped them up, as much as we anticipated that they would be battling LeBron, as much as they assembled a squad to beat LeBron and the Lakers. They assembled a squad to beat LeBron and the Lakers, which means that they assembled a squad that could beat anybody else that they lined up in front of them because LeBron and the Lakers were 1A. Mm-hmm. So to lose to Denver in the second round of the playoffs is one. I won't say it's the worst. I can't call it the worst. I think the Sonics losing to the Nuggets in '95 might have been worse than that because that was a top-tier team that was expected to go to the finals, and they lost in the first round, Dikembe Mutombo notwithstanding. But this is horrible. This is absolute trash. Kawhi, where was Kawhi in the last game? How do you lose worse and worse and then worse? You come for the 7th game and you got nothing better to do than the Montrezl Harrell has got to be your best player on the floor? What happened, man? What happened? Where's Westside Pat at to kick these guys in the ass? What happened? We were counting on y'all, man. And by we, I mean me personifying the LeBron haters of the world. We wanted you to win. We were all counting on you. We were all rooting for you. And you failed us. You failed us all, bro. The Clippers were finally supposed to break this damn curse. And this, you know what the wild thing is? They wasn't even breaking the curse yet. They were just trying to get to the conference finals to actually beat LeBron. They didn't even see LeBron, man. They didn't even come see that dude. All these times we hyped this up in the regular season. On my man DJ Michi Michi's Basketball Z videos. And now what? Now what, man? We got to watch LeBron stomp out Jamal Murray. Bro, this is garbage.
Hey, man, I'm sending you a virtual hug, man.
I mean, Chris making us feel it, man. He's making us feel it. I love it, man.
Bro, we got all this going around in the world, and now this.
So, I mean, if on my hierarchy of blame, from who deserves the most blame to the least, I'm going Doc, Paul George, and Kawhi, because Kawhi was balling for the better part of the bubble playoffs and the better part of that series. And I don't know what it is about. I don't know if it's we get enamored with certain coaches or maybe prisoners of the moment, or we just kind of forget. We make our own revisionist history, but man, Doc Rivers got a lot of questions, man, coming his way this offseason. Deservedly so when you got a team with that much talent. And I'm glad you hit on that, Chris. I hate that people are saying that some of the narrative now is that, well, they built this team to beat the Lakers, but they weren't ready for these other teams. No, if you are making your team to beat the presumptuous best team in the league, you are therefore supposed to be able to beat everybody below them. So I'm with you wholeheartedly, Chris. But like I was saying with Doc, man, you giving up a 3-1 lead again, and they had multiple double-digit leads in those potential closeout games. That falls back on the coach. As much as I want to say Paul George didn't answer the bell, man, and this man hit the side of a backboard on a wide open three. My friends went nuts with that, and they will continue to go nuts with that. This dude had a wide open corner three and hit all backboard. I can't believe it, man. I can't believe it.
Josh, is he too easy of a punching bag, man, or does he deserve all the heat, man?
No, he deserves all the heat.
Paul.
Paul George deserves all the heat. But at the same time, I look at it this way. I feel like watching the Clippers basically burn in flames to the ground was like this was like watching Black Panther and watching Killmonger beat Black Panther and say, "This your king." That's like LeBron coming over to LA like, "Kawhi, this is your king." Like, LA, this is y'all king. I mean, what's up with Kawhi with the New Balance commercial saying that you the king? Like, come on, bro. And I feel like that's just pretty much what LeBron did. Like, oh, so this is your king. Like, this is the Kawhi, the one that's supposed to take over my reign as the best player in the league. Oh, okay. And then I just can't believe that it's like you said, it's obviously Doc Rivers plays a huge role in it. You can't, coaching wise, you just can't let that happen. Paul George, I understand you had your mental health issues, you had things of that sort, so you may not have been your full self, but you could have easily played better. And Kawhi too. And I'm putting more of this on Kawhi because when I think of the fact that, yeah, you played well, but when you are the guy, the main guy on that team, it's up to you to lead that charge to put the nail in the coffin. You have to take it to that next. You have to be the one that has to have that assassin-like mentality to say, no, enough's enough. We're going to end this thing. He did not do that. He failed, especially in the later moments of the game, of the last couple games. Mm-hmm. So, yes, Doc Rivers plays a huge role in it. And there's a lot of question marks with his coaching. Paul George, we have the history of not being playoff Paul George. He doesn't live up to his name. He goes from PG-13 to PG. We know that. But Kawhi, you were on the verge of literally being chosen as the best player in the league, arguably, and you have commercials coming out saying, "Yo, I am the king of LA." You have this reputation now of you being the Finals MVP that this past year. You were supposed to be the finishing piece. You're supposed to be the missing link to this Clippers team to taking them to that championship level. And when your moment arrived, you failed.
And to that degree, when you talk about LeBron haters, as Chris mentioned, if he had went this year and beat LeBron, then he owns LeBron for his career, essentially. And he's the checkmate to any argument about LeBron being the GOAT. Because with Jordan, you could say that Jordan eventually took down all of his enemies, as it were, for lack of a better word. All of his rivals. His rivals, yeah. His people stood his way. He took them all down. LeBron would not have been able to take Kawhi down in 2 or 3 times that he faced him straight up. Mm-hmm. So that would have been all you needed right there.
Mm-hmm. Let me want to read y'all something just real quick, just to kind of it gives validation for the reason why they shouldn't move too hastily, blowing this team up. They need to keep this group together and move forward, and hopefully injuries kind of don't affect the season the way it did. But coming into the season, their 5 best players: Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Montrezl Harrell, Lemon Pepper, Lou Will, and Beverly. They only played as a group 56 minutes in 17 games together. In Game 7, they only played 3 minutes together. Now, obviously, foul trouble, injuries play a role in that. But if I'm Doc Rivers, how do you allow that to happen, man? That's why I said it kind of falls back on Doc. And again, it's a lot of underlying factors that go into that. Mm-hmm. But that's your best group. That's your best group. You got some scoring. You got some defense. You got leadership out the wazoo. I don't know, man. They got to get that group back and run it back. They got to run it back.
That's a good way to get into that part of it. I just before we get into that, I don't know. Maybe he overthought, and maybe he knew what you knew, and he just felt that they hadn't played enough time together to warrant playing in that tough situation. But I agree with you, Drew. If you're in a situation where it's win or go home, you put out your best players and let them run. And if like you said, that not playing them to that degree, that's overthinking at the least and negligence at the worst.
Yeah, I don't know what book of coaching him and Mike Budenholzer are reading from, man, but they gotta leave that alone, man. Put that on the shelf.
Was there? I didn't see a whole lot, but I know that there's sometimes because with the group you mentioned, was there anything that y'all saw in the regular season where they were all on the floor together at some point? Is that a sustainable lineup? Is what I'm wondering. That's my only thought, that it might not be a sustainable lineup for a long period of time. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
What was that a group again?
So it was Leonard, George, Carroll, Lou Will, and Patrick Beverly. So I mean, you small in the backcourt, you give up some defense with Lou Will, and you give up, sort of an inside presence. But I feel like Trez is such a beast, so fiery, that he kind of makes up for whatever height he doesn't have with that mentality. But Lou Will should be able to hold his own enough to make that work for extended stretches, man.
Hey, it's the wing effect. It's the wing effects. You never know. Wings was so good and it messed up his mental, man. You never know.
I thought you were saying basketball wings when you went to the couple again.
He was too busy trademarking.
He was too busy trademarking, man.
But with that said, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead, Chris.
Just thinking about the lemon pepper wings with the teriyaki from Atlanta.
Yeah.
The lemon pepper wet wings.
He might have been daydreaming for a moment too much in that game. Man, I can really use the wing right now. A wing and a thigh.
We could all use that.
But let's get us back on board, man. But with that being said, maybe that might be an argument towards, if we talk about bringing this team back, the core of the team, they may need more of a lengthier wing player to help with defending 3-and-D stuff. Someone who could extend the defense on one side and, like say, defend more players on the other side. Then more players than be more of a physical presence than Lou Will can, or even Patrick, who he'll defend anyone, but at some point, you're a short dog barking up a tall tree. So it's they have some regrouping that they need to do, some more talent that they need to add, which is interesting given that all the talent that they do have. Maybe they have to do some addition by subtraction. But, Drew says overall that they should run it back with the team they got. Chris, Josh, to what degree do you agree with that? Or do you agree with that at all?
I agree with it. I think they have to make this work because they put so much into getting Paul George after they got Kawhi Leonard, by giving up their future for the right now, that you have to make that situation work. And based off of that, the only way you make it work is putting surrounding pieces that fit the skill sets, which at this point, like we mentioned before, Kyle, is two-way players that can shoot the ball effectively, but at the same time, give you very good perimeter defense. And yes, we argued that, having a backcourt with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George as your wing players is arguably the deadliest front court you could think of. Well, that got exposed. So what are your reinforcements with that? You're going to have to go younger, or maybe have some type of a young veteran, per se, that give you those components. But I don't think they really need too much of I don't want to say retool or regroup, per se. What they originally had could have worked. I just think that they just didn't have the focus and the mental focus to move on where they needed to move on. And it came back to bite them. So I think this is more of like a mental thing compared to just a talent thing. And they could just add more little pieces here and there to aid what they already have.
Chris, you got anything to add?
I think they could do some things. I always thought they were weak at the 3 spot.
Yeah, I agree.
Like Jeff Green and did they have Jermichael? Did they have Jermichael Green still? That was the beginning of the season.
No, they still had him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I really thought that they were losing a lot. Okay, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave him something for sure, but I thought they never really got what they. It's tough to say. It's tough to say with adding one of the Morris twins. You're always going to get a solid player who's going to bark at the referees, but give you like he can give you 15 if you need it. He can give you solid wing defense. He can give you a little bit of rebounding, so that's not a bad thing to have. It's just I don't know. This leaves a real bad taste in my mouth. That's the whole thing. Now a lot of those guys, Patrick and Kawhi, they can mentally come back from those. Paul George is an outlier, man. At some point, you got to be tired of the losing. You got to be tired of the losing, and you got to be tired of people always giving you shit for it. Remember when that Gatorade commercial came out? It was so badly timed, and that's going to be on him forever until he Chris Jericho's up and wins the big one. We're waiting. So that's the only thing. That's the only reason, because I look at that team, as we all do. We look at that team, and you look at the names and what they did in the regular season, and even what they did before they blew this lead, and you think, why wouldn't you take those same guys back with you? And then you realize they lost 3 straight games, and it's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to say where they should subtract and add. I think Doc is a big question mark at this point of his career, even though he's won a finals. He's taken some good teams to the conference finals. And I don't know who you would replace him with. Maybe Monty Williams. If the Clippers want to go out and get Monty Williams, I think that would be a solid candidate to lead their team. But I can't say for sure whether they should bring everybody back.
Yeah, it's still kind of early. But I wonder. Yeah, it's still kind of early. But I like you said, Chris. I think I just would like them to see them more of a effective 3 guy who can be in between what Kawhi and PG does, and who can step up at times when they can't or won't, especially in the case of PG won't. So they got issues, and I think it's gonna take a lot for Doc to get knocked out of that job. It's just gonna take a lot, and it may take a rebuild where they just know that they can't do anything with the team they got, or some Kawhi maybe. I think what Kawhi and PG are both free agents in 21, I think, or something like that. So if they both up and leave at that point, and they're left with nothing else but youth or old role players, maybe that would be the time. But yeah, because of that situation, the contract situation, you pretty much have to just load up again and try to see about next year. You have to go all in again. It doesn't make sense to really do anything drastic unless you could get a crazy player back, or that's really that or you get a crazy player back who can hold you down past what Kawhi and PG might want to do in the next year or two. Like somehow get into the top 4 of the draft or something. Like I say, just throwing wild stuff out there. But yeah, but for overall in general, you just gotta load up with what you got and try to hope that LeBron leg fall off in the next year. So, but yeah, that's the Clippers for you, man. The Clippers. I remember at one point, not too long ago, I was thinking about how well ran some organizations are compared to the Bulls. And the Clippers came up because I don't know how they came up, but like I guess it was just the fact that they're looked at as a top organization now for in some ways, whereas I'm old enough to remember when the Clippers were absolutely one of the worst ran franchises in all of sports, and now they've sort of been left in the past year, really in the past year, but you could extend it back towards Lob City and stuff like that. People let them off the hook for good reasons. They got rid of the racists who owned them. They have, a more friendly owner now. They've been in the playoffs consistently over the past 10 years. But this really got it back to where it's like, they are the Clippers, aren't they? And now, they got something to get over that they got something real that they got to get over again. So good luck to them. But let's transition over. I wasn't planning to go really past 6:30 with the game starting. I want to let y'all watch the game and stuff. But we'll go a little bit past that. We won't go past 7, I would say. And because I want to talk about the NBA awards. The NBA awards they get a lot of people riled up over them and stuff. And there's always calls for reform with awards, especially the MVP and stuff. And I just wanted to get y'all thoughts on the awards in general and maybe the MVP in particular. And of course, the MVP goes to Giannis, two-time award winner, back-to-back. And is it? What did Steph go back-to-back too?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that every time someone gets back-to-back now, they're so divisive. Steph, Nash, and now Giannis. And a lot of people say LeBron should have got it. LeBron, of course, says that he should have got it. And that's been a big story this week about him, what he said about it. And overall, I didn't mind what he said. I think he has the right to say it. He has the right to feel that way. And he is in a difficult position, much like Jordan, where Jordan got it, 5 times in his career? And you could argue that he could have got it nearly 10 times. So it's like, at some point, because of the voters being who they are and the way the game is, where, you don't want to keep giving the same award to the same person every year. It's kind of hard to get to do that with LeBron, who also can make the argument of winning more times than he has. Definitely can. And, whether you want to say, should this be in his mind or not, he's put in the work to put himself as the best player in the world. And he's had challengers and people like Kawhi, people who wanted to argue that, but he's shown again this year that no player on earth can match what he brings to a team. And whether that makes him the league's MVP or not is arguable, of course, but he's definitely always in the running, and he deserves to be. So, and there's also the whole thing about, well, he's saying sort of similar things to what Jordan said, especially he said in his time and what he said in The Last Dance about, not being respected in the way that he wants to be respected. Like if Jordan says that he was disrespected and he went out and killed somebody for 60, we applauded that back then, but we sort of give LeBron a little more guff than we should when he says similar things. So, I kind of agree with that, and even though I'm not a LeBron jock rider myself, but I think, like I said, I just think I don't think he was out of line with what he said. So I don't know if y'all want to start off with that.
Well, I mean, if LeBron is saying that, we should expect him to drop at least 60 tonight then. So we should be that'll be something to see if he really uses that as the motivation. Like LeBron can and come out and show the world who we thought he is now, who we must have forgot who he was. But I'm one of the people that thought LeBron should have got the MVP. It's a difference between being the MVP of a team where you fit in the system to where you're the MVP of the team because you are the system. LeBron is the system and has been the system of every team that he's pretty much played on. And it shows that with what he can do in year 17 to be as efficient as he was, as healthy as he was, and to be able to still average the numbers that he puts up, it's surreal as far as his impact on that team is, because we've seen the Lakers without LeBron. It's a completely different team, and oftentimes they will struggle. They'll struggle to win games. It's proven AD is not the guy to reel you to multiple winning games in a stretch like that, where LeBron is the glue to the success of every team that he's been on, and the Lakers are another prime example of that. So that's why I believe LeBron should have got it. Giannis has a good team around him, and oftentimes when he's not playing as much as he used to, the team still thrives. But you got to give Giannis credit. He was the MVP, and he put up better numbers this year as the MVP they did last year when he won MVP. And the Bucks it is a regular season award, and the Bucks were the number one team in the NBA. So you got to give Giannis his props for sure. But we have to understand what truly means to define as most valuable player. Because if you're talking about literally most valuable player, as in you take that person out of a team and their value is impacted greatly, that's obviously going to be LeBron James, and always will be LeBron James, and he'll always be the number one guy for that. But you got to give Giannis his props. He's definitely made an impact throughout the league, especially this year, winning not just MVP but Defensive Player of the Year as well. And the sky's the limit for Giannis, and it was well deserving for him to win the MVP this year.
Yeah, so Giannis deserved MVP. I'm not mad at him getting it, but I'm glad what you just said, Josh, about AD and LeBron. And I hate to say who means more to the team, but just thinking about if one of those guys were gone, what would happen? My beef came from the people who were mad that LeBron was getting more votes for MVP than AD was. And I just found it kind of ironic that in the 1 year where LeBron wasn't the end all be all, that part of it, because he wasn't the end all be all, people were saying, "Oh man, you don't even deserve to be in this discussion right now, because you got a teammate that's putting in major work." When really and truly, I think if you take LeBron off that team, they just become Anthony Davis's Los Angeles Pelicans. You know what I'm saying? Like, because of LeBron's leadership, because of what he brings to the table, because he is, like Josh said, the offense, everything funnels through him. He's not the type of superstar that can impact the game in the same way without the ball. He needs the ball in his hands. That's why I felt that, for those people to say that AD should be getting more credit or more deserving of the MVP than LeBron was, I just thought that was misplaced. Like a lot of maybe perhaps LeBron hate. He's already the most polarizing player that I've ever known in my sports lifetime. So it just lends itself to that. It's crazy, man. I wish we could have seen social media in Jordan's day to see what people would say, what the naysayers would say, how he would handle it. I really would want to see if we could make that happen, what that would have been like. Because it's ridiculous sometimes with the spectrum of people's opinions about LeBron. But Giannis deserved it. Back-to-back MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. I think only Hakeem and Jordan, maybe. Only two guys that have done that. That's crazy territory there. That's crazy.
I'm still like halfway on advanced analytics and well, basically the deeper statistics that are in basketball. because it's hard to accurately grade defensive contributions. But as I look at the stats on Basketball Reference and I see the two-way stats, I think the thing with Anthony Davis being on the Lakers is if you take LeBron off there, like you said, Drew, they're Anthony Davis's Los Angeles Pelicans. But if you take AD off the Lakers, what are they with just LeBron? Do they get to this point? Are they such clear favorites for the title? Are they contenders for the conference finals? Are they beatable? You know, what is it?
Well, we kind of saw that last year, what they were.
Right. I mean, there was time that there was some turmoil there, and LeBron for the first time was like actually had some health issues, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the thing is, when you get two guys who are that good and who mean so much to that team, you know, you can't quantify best leader in the NBA. You can't quantify best locker room presence. You can't quantify necessarily the guy who his teammates want to play the most for. You can only really quantify statistics, and you can try and quantify wins above replacement. So the thing is that AD and LeBron are kind of cannibalized votes from each other because they were both so good. It's a really, individually, it sucks, even if you win a championship, because if you go out and you're like, I want to be the best player this year, if your teammate is as good as you and sometimes can take over the team in your stead, then people are going to see that and they're like, well, I don't know, which could you choose between these two guys? The debate in baseball right now is who's more key for the White Sox, Tim Anderson or Jose Abreu? And I've seen an argument that it feels stupid but is valid. Could you really choose between those two guys, or is it a coin flip on who makes the White Sox better, personally and truly? Actually, I was going to say Tim Anderson, but I don't know. And therein lies the point. And the other thing about I always bring this up because as much of a homer as Bill Simmons is, as much of a sexist as Bill Simmons may be or has been in his career, he's right on a lot of things, and he's right about this. The NBA has never really defined what they mean when they ask for a most valuable player. Like, who is it most valuable to the team, most valuable to the league, most valuable to in what sense? Because they want these debates. They want us to talk about what it means every single year, and they want these arguments. They want us to be talking about, should it be LeBron, should it be Giannis, should it be AD? Because it's good for business. Because it's going to make a lot of talk on sports radio, even in the midst of this year that we're living in the midst of these playoffs, we will still be discussing who was the rightful most valuable player. We're still talking about whether Steve Nash deserved his second or whether Steph Curry deserved his second. So therein lies the problem and the, what would you really call it? The quandary that the NBA wants us to always kind of chafe at.
Quandary kid.
What does most valuable mean? I think Giannis deserved it. Like I said, I'm looking at these stats. He's tops in defensive rating. He was 9th in offensive win shares and best in defensive win shares. And one thing I will always say, most valuable player means you play at both ends of the court for me. And LeBron has not been the defensive stopper that we had come to know. He picks his spots here and there. For the chase down and for really when to get in somebody's shirt. Some of that
pretty much has to at this point.
Right. Like the red wine treatments aren't doing everything that they possibly can anymore. He's 35 years old and Giannis is not. But at the same time, was Giannis a better player on both ends of the court? Looking at these stats and from the games I saw, yes. Does that mean that Giannis still got bodied up by Marcus Smart again? Yes. But he deserved the regular season MVP award. That's my take on it.
And okay, before we get to the other awards and stuff, again, like I said, the calls for reform with the MVP. It should consider the playoffs as well. It shouldn't be the media voting. It shouldn't be, what do we make of the MVP? I'm of the thinking that you have the MVP, it's a regular season award, and you have finals MVP. That is a postseason award. Now, could you maybe have a third award like with hockey? I forget the name of the award. They have so many different names, but
like
hockey
best player in the playoffs.
Yes, they have a best player in the playoffs. So that could encompass maybe playing like you could say maybe a Murray could be in contention for that award, or even well, maybe he didn't play enough, but even like a Donovan
Mitchell.
But you could have an award that encompasses the playoffs entirely, because the finals is more about just the finals. But I don't think you have to just acknowledge the fact that the MVP award, regardless of the context, regardless of what writers going to when they vote, and we got to talk about Joe Cowley's vote with the Rookie of the Year, because that goes into stuff where we talk. That goes into some stuff where we talk about what do writers think about when they vote. But as far as MVP goes, it is about the regular season. So, I mean, saying that LeBron has been more impressive in the postseason than Giannis doesn't mean anything. All it means is that LeBron is a better postseason player than Giannis right now, and that's something you really can't argue. But if you want to go back to this whole season, the argument is there for Giannis to be the MVP, and that I think if you just let that sink in, then you have a lot less stress about you, unless you're just a LeBron needs all the awards type of guy.
My thing, I'm not really mad at I don't really know what the criteria is. I'm not even really mad at that, because it seems to be like they kind of let the media kind of make that decision on their own, which I'm cool with. My thing is, why does it take so long for that regular season award to be announced? Why are we waiting so long for that? I think that adds to a lot of
theatrics
for it. Yeah, man, they're trying to get the drama.
But I mean, I get it, but let it come out when it needs to come out, and then you let the playoffs and the finals take care of themselves, and you anoint whoever you want to be the finals MVP. Don't delay the announcement for a regular season award 3 weeks into the postseason. Like, just get it out, just let it out. The postseason will be enough drama it'll provide us enough drama regardless, like in and of itself. We don't need to delay the regular season award, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should make a Shot to the Fool award.
They definitely should do that.
Want to make that official now?
Yeah, that should be an official award. A Shaq.
We can make it an official award, because that's what there's so many of them. There's so many of them. I don't know who you would choose, but I think that'll be kind of funny to have. Just saying. I think the players will actually love it. Honestly, it brings a comical side to the awards, especially if they continue to do like the award shows in the future that they've been doing. I mean, why not have a couple of Shot to the Fool awards, or the NBA's funniest or weirdest player, some of that, I don't know, but you can call it whatever, like a Sports Center top 10 for top plays in the NBA where you just fail. I don't know. But whatever it is, I think it'll be pretty comical, especially if you do like an award, like the award shows that they've been doing at the end of the year. Shit, why not?
I ain't mad at that.
Okay. I'm not mad at that either, I guess. Yeah. But yeah. You're fine with the MVP though, as it is, Josh?
Yeah. I actually agree with Drew though, as far as pushing it back and just actually literally, as soon as the season's over, okay, put your ballots in, let's do this voting then, and pulling out the award earlier. But I mean, it's not at this point the definition of the MVP is so all over the place. It's not going to be as concise as it should be when it comes to voters and making their decisions that they're going to make. So it's not going to change much. Might as well just go with the flow, and you just choose who you feel is the best and keep it moving.
Chris, you got anything to add there?
I wholly agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that playoffs MVP idea. I think that's been necessary for a long time. This isn't, Giannis's performance isn't the first time we've had an MVP so sorely underperform in the playoffs. I think the example that a lot of people remember the most is Dirk with the Mavericks when they got bounced by the Warriors. in 2000. Was it 2000? Or I might be going the wrong year because I know it was the year before when they lost to the Heat in the finals.
Now you're right. That was the year that, because they give out the award later, he had to get the award in a press conference and not prior to that time. We were used to seeing the players get the award on their home court in front of their fans at a semifinal game or a conference final game. But because they lost in that first round to the Warriors, he had to get it in the press conference.
And that's, sorry, let me leave Dirk alone for a second. I think you gotta. I honestly would want to combine.
Chris, two other ones, because I think LeBron won both of these years in 09 and 10, leading up to him leaving Cleveland. Those are two bad ones too that I always cite.
That's a good point too, especially that 2000. Did he lose in 2010 before he left? Did he win the award?
Yeah, that was
the
real bad one when they lost. I think it's 6 to Boston.
Yeah,
and he came off the court and ripped the jersey off, and it was like, yeah, he gone.
Because I know David Robinson didn't go to the finals in '95, and that was always a knock on him, is that he couldn't take a team before Tim Duncan.
Hakeem shaked them right out he shaked the MVP right out of him in '95.
God. I wonder if that video is still up on YouTube. Elijah Wan destroys Robinson, man.
I'm sure it is.
But yeah, I would combine regular season and postseason statistics, and if you get the best possible person there, if you have to limit it to the top 5 cumulative best players in terms of offense and defense, if I see James Harden win another MVP award, I'm gonna shake somebody. And then you go by the postseason performance. So if one of those five players lays a huge egg in the postseason, then you don't have any reason to sulk about, man, I made this choice and then they let us down. I would, if you have to split it, if you have to combine it, there should be a way to grade playoffs performance, because there are players who are huge in the postseason and they might not make the finals who don't get recognized except for a few articles after. There are players that are good in the postseason and good in the finals who meant a lot more to their team than the finals MVP. And I'm pointing at you, Andre Iguodala, right now.
Yeah.
Because that was LeBron's award. And I said I'm a LeBron hater. Y'all know that. LeBron was the best player on that court in that finals, man. That was trash. So
despite losing, so you're not against giving?
No, not at all. Not at all. It doesn't matter if your team loses. If you were the best player, you were the most valuable. I know we talk about this, but if you were the best and obviously most valuable player on the court, then you should win the award. Point blank, period. Jerry West won when the Lakers lost to the Celtics in '69. And everybody who watched the games knew. I don't know why this is so hard when TV was so bad back then. Everybody knew Jerry West was the best player on the court back then.
Jerry
with
West
Wilt
got
Chamberlain
the
on the
complexion
same
for the
court.
protection.
You said what?
He got the complexion for the protection, as Paul Mooney said.
Come on, man. We can't. We can't.
I'm just playing, man. I'm just playing.
But see, that'll never translate to regular season, though. You'll never see a dude get MVP on a team that's like 14 and whatever. Like that'll never happen for the regular season award.
It's too hard for that.
Contenders who are on otherwise bad teams. But yeah, I see what you said.
Yeah, it's too hard to do that in basketball when you got 12 guys. Baseball, you can have Cy Young Award winners who have a losing record or who only win a certain number of games because you're that good. But if you're that good in basketball and your team is trash, then you weren't that good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, man, it doesn't matter if your team loses. If you were obviously the best player on the court who meant the most to your team, because without LeBron, do the Cavs win 2 games? Do they take a 2-1 lead in that series? No. Nah. Yeah. That was LeBron's award.
I get you. Well, there's a good argument, and I think another good argument was made. But no, I'm just doing that for the sake of transition. An argument was made by Joe Cowley of the Sun Times for why he was singled out, the only person who voted for Zion Williamson for Rookie of the Year, or maybe he's the only person who voted him for first place, I should say. And of course, we know that Ja Morant won, and deservedly so. But Cowley put out the Zion, and he's got a lot of flack for that. Zion, Ja has mentioned him. Ja responded to one of his tweets. I think he responded to the argument tweet about why he said it, and he said like God bless or something like that. He was taking the high road. Wale was like, go sit down. So, Wale of all people told him to go sit down. Yeah.
He said homeboy was drunk. He said, sit down, you drunk.
Yeah. So like we know in Chicago that Cowley can step out on some ledges and stuff, and I think more of the nation is feeling that now. And there have been other stuff like this, and there've been writers who've been singled out like this in other awards before, especially the MVP. And I'm trying to think of the writer that Shaq hates because he didn't make him unanimous. Chris, you remember that?
I can't remember the exact writer. I would have to look up. Is that the vote against? No, because this is the one where Shaq wasn't a unanimous MVP, right?
Yeah. So it's stuff like that happens so much with these awards, and it's like, it goes into the thing about people arguing why writers shouldn't vote. But writers do pay attention to the game. If you're a beat reporter, which Cowley is, you're watching every game, at least for your team, and you're watching many other games with other teams. So it's not, as a person who's written myself, I haven't covered an NBA team on a beat, but I understand what goes into covering a beat. So it's not like these people are just out here. I think it's much better hands with writers than it will be with fans and even players, because players' biases are random, and we don't even know for the most part what their biases could be. Their biases could come from a bad night on the club with some dude or something, like,
That's fair.
To have players vote on it. Maybe you can have a players award, but to have it be the number one award, I don't know if you want to do that. But anyway,
the writer was Fred Hickman.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he voted for Ivo for MVP that year.
Right. 01, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so people have their things that they make them vote certain ways. Maybe they want to prop up a person who they feel is being underrated, or in Cowley's case with this argument, he went into some technical stuff. I have to put up the tweet, but he felt that Zion played just enough, and his impact was as outsized as it was. And it was, when he played, he played. Not so much in the bubble games, but in the games before the bubble. And he just felt that the rookie season was about him. As far as the rookie class goes, it still was about him. And Ja didn't do enough to overtake that. So he voted for Zion. But some writers can put themselves out there. Like I said, Cowley is a guy who can do that. Most writers fall in line with the rest of their people because they don't want to be put out there like that.
Yeah,
but I just want to get y'all thoughts on that whole situation. Like, what do y'all take away from what Cowley did? And does it matter? Or, how much does it matter, if it matters at all?
He was wrong. That's all I'm gonna say.
And it's okay to be wrong. That's the thing too in sports. Like, sometimes you just gonna be wrong. And if you sometimes you get and if you can just stand by it, just move on. There'll be another thing to argue about the next day. So some people are just afraid to death of being wrong. So I mean, you can't be that way if you're gonna be in sports media. I'd say.
I mean, he was wrong. Everybody's criteria is different. But at the end of the day, the right guy is going home or went home with the award. So it's not too much into it, man.
Yeah, Josh, you was looking kind of wild earlier when I bet you Cowley.
That was just so. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, I don't want to say extreme, but it was like, really, bro? Like, you just look at him like, really, bro? Like, that's the only way I can really think of it. I mean, I get what he's trying to say, but Zion only did play less than 40 games. Like, how can you can't consider that if you only played less than 40 games of a year and be considered and automatically think you're just rookie of the year like that. Like, nah, Ja had impact too. The Memphis Grizzlies, if it wasn't for the bubble, they literally would have been in the Western Conference playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, you can't dismiss that, especially since Memphis literally was a bottom 3 or 4 team last year. And for them to make the jump that they did with Ja being the main guy, to be the ace, to basically hold down that A spot and even get to the bubble, compared to Zion, which we knew they just ridden him up. They just rid his ticket in. They wrote his ticket in to make sure that they get them ratings back up. So
yeah.
The scenarios are different. It's two completely different scenarios. So that's why, for me, when I look at it, I'm like, really, bro? Like, really, man? Come on, man. Like, that's my NFLized version of come on, man. Like, that's what it is. That's what that moment is for me when it comes to that.
I'm looking forward to the year though when Zion gets the MVP for winning 42 games, and we see how that blows up the whole. That's probably going to be the season where the MVP system completely blows up, and when Zion wins with a 40-win season. But anyway, like Cowley was wrong, but he tried to argue it the best way he can. But you move on. Like Drew said, the right guy got the award. It was obvious that Ja deserved the award. He played the best for the longest period of time, and he had an impact. So whereas his team was technically a playoff team, and that's something that Zion can't say. For unfortunately, maybe if he played the whole season, maybe he would have got New Orleans in the playoffs. But you can't use projection in giving an award. You have to deal with what really happened. So, but we about to wrap it up, and I hate to make it seem like just just something that we tacked on at the end, because it wasn't the case. But let's do some Sky talk before we go out. And we have to give a postmortem to the Sky as well, unfortunately, because they didn't make they made the playoffs, but they didn't make the eliminate. They didn't make the single, make it beyond the single game elimination portion. I think the first 2 rounds was single elimination. They lost in the first round to Connecticut, which looked stronger than they did in the regular season. It seemed, Chris. They won another game after that. Like, well, they're still in now, aren't they? They're in the
they're in the series round now. The semifinals.
Yeah, but from some I talked earlier, and you can definitely follow Chris as a great source on WNBA stuff on his social media and his Skyhook podcast too. Shout out James. And they had a lot of issues going over. They had a great start, but a lot of issues going over the course of their time in the Wubble, injuries and stuff. And players ended up having to leave the bubble by the end of it, and they just didn't have the same team at the end that they would have wanted to have to compete for the WNBA playoffs. So, with all that being said, Chris, how should the team feel about the way that the season ended, and what should the outlook be going into 21?
We just actually had a conversation. James and I, we did the Skyhook podcast earlier today. James, K, and myself, and we went over that in pretty great detail on what the outlook should be for the Sky. And I'm more confident, I think, than I was at the beginning of the season, just because the way I saw the team play through about the first 3 quarters of the year, just above a half of the season, because through 14 games they were fantastic, man. Azurá Stevens looked every bit of the player that they wanted. She was good defensively, especially on the help side defense in the post. She was basically, defenses had to stay honest on this guy, which is great for a team that loves to shoot the 3 and scores a lot and has players who slash like Kalia Copper and Diamond DeShields. They couldn't cheat. What you saw in the Connecticut game without Azurá Stevens, who left because of a knee injury, left the Wubble, is that Alyssa Thomas on Connecticut, who, if y'all don't watch the WNBA, first of all, watch it. Watch this Connecticut and Las Vegas series. Y'all got to see Alyssa Thomas play, man. She's got 2 torn labrums. So the shoulder, like that allows you to do this, that's torn.
Yeah.
She has to shoot free throws like a one-handed push shot. But she plays like a bear, bro. I can't put it any different than that. And she was on one against the Sky. They couldn't stop her because they didn't have the personnel. And when the ball went into the post, she was just sagging off and double teaming, where she wouldn't have been able to do that against an Azurá Stevens. So in that sense, the outlook is kind of dark, because not only does Stevens have a knee injury, it's something to do with the cartilage in her knee. It's an osteochondral injury. So bone and cartilage. And I know NBA fans, I don't believe it's the same, but I know y'all know the name Brandon Roy. And when you have injuries with cartilage, I remember my guy in grade school talking about this. Cartilage doesn't easily grow back. I don't know if it grows back at all. You do what you can, and just know that it's going to slowly degenerate over time. So if you have a 6'6" player with a cartilage injury, mobility is going to be limited at some point in the near future. So in that sense, there's some cause for worry. However, Ruthie Hebert, the rookie from Oregon, she played very well as she got more minutes over the season. She filled in admirably. She's a great floor running big. Courtney Vandersloot was a contender for MVP, even though she didn't win. She set a new record for assists in a season. First time anybody's had 10 assists in a season in the WNBA.
Yeah.
She shot nearly 40% from 3. Allie Quigley's a bona fide bucket. And the only thing other than that to worry about is Diamond DeShields coming back to full strength. If Sky fans find themselves waiting for Diamond to take that step to superstar after next season, then there's cause for worry. And I told James I think they need a big, like a post player, 6'2" or 6'3", a wing player, 6'2", 6'3", or taller, who can reliably hit the mid-range jump shot and get to the free throw line, a la Asia Wilson, who was this year's most valuable player.
Yeah.
But I don't think that there's 4 or 5 teams better than them in the WNBA, even with Connecticut, Seattle, when Washington gets Elena Deladon back, when Washington gets Tina Charles back. I don't think that they're out of contention. I don't think that their championship chance is closed. But James Wade has to make some tough decisions over the offseason with the new salary cap. Some players have to get paid, and he might have to make a trade or two. The Sparks Los Angeles might blow things up, which would put Candace Parker on the market, which would put Nneka Ogwumike on the market, and any team would be smart to trade decent pieces to get Candace Parker back. So there's some questions for him. But as bad as the end of the season was, the way that they played through the middle of it, I don't think that there's that much to worry about.
Chris, we all plotting, man. How can we get Candace back to the crib?
Look at Josh, Joe.
Bring
out
back
that
the
way.
630, baby. Bring back
Right,
the
he out that way.
630.
That's your
He
hood,
out
ain't
that
it,
way
man?
too. He gonna be in Naperville posted.
Yes, sir. Bring back the 630. Come home, CP3. Come on, Candace. Come on.
Y'all know we said on the Skyhook Naperville is in Chicago, but I said bring Candace kind of home, kind of back home. Man, it would.
She going home. Home.
Josh talking about something else.
Come
now.
back to the Ville.
I know.
Come back to the Ville, Candace. Come back to the Ville.
Look at your man trying to shoot.
Be careful now, Mr. X Parker. Mr. X Candace Parker, I'm looking for you.
That big old forehead.
Hey, all I'm gonna say is this. There was a point in time when I felt my writing career was on track that I had a 5-year plan to get one date with Serena Williams, and that was my end. So Josh, you dream big, my guy. You set your plans and you make that happen. Speak it into existence.
Yes, sir.
Beyond seeing Josh plot, like I think, I would like to see her get on the team. Do you think on a basketball level that would be a prudent move?
Only thing that it might affect is team chemistry was because they don't need more leadership. Candace Parker, the basketball player, instantly makes your team better unless you lose a bunch. She is a facilitator at her position. She rebounds. She runs the floor. Man, I tell you, when the Sparks came and Candace was still coming back she was recovering from her time off from pregnancy and working her way back in the lineup. And the Sky had held her in what I thought held her in check for 3 quarters. They got to the 4th quarter, and there was just a shift. You could tell she had the ball in her hands and she was going to score, and wasn't anybody going to do anything about it. When you see basketball players like that, man, she was just going to score. She was going to either get to the basket and score, or the jump shot was going in. And I hadn't really seen that up close from that distance, being on press row at Wintrust with anybody ever. I've never been that close to a certified elite basketball player. It was incredible to see. So you get Candace Parker on the team, the only thing you really have to worry about is team chemistry. Otherwise, your team is better.
Chris,
you got to worry about getting all 4 seats for us at Wintrust next year.
Yes. I know it's a hard question to answer, man, but if that were to happen, who in your mind would you say the Sky would have to give up to get her in return? And what would be that line that says that's a little too much to give up even for Candace Parker?
I think Los Angeles would ask for some combination of Cheyenne Parker, Kalia Copper, possibly Ruthie Hebard. And in James' estimation, Cheyenne is too valuable to give up. And I love Cheyenne Parker. If Courtney Vandersloot is the leader of the team, she's the heart and soul of that team. She goes to the mattresses every night for that squad. So it'd be really hard for me to say that they would include her in a trade package and just get one player back. I think they'd be willing to give up Ruthie. I think she's going to be a good player wherever she goes, especially if the coaching is right, which is an issue. Derek Fisher hasn't really worked out for Los Angeles as the head coach. And it would be really difficult, I think, for them to give up Kalia Copper when she's very close with Diamond DeShields. They work very well together, and she just fits as a transitional guard who can score with either hand at the rim on the run. That is so integral to their offense, fast break points, that I think it's hard to find. I think it's hard to find a player like Kalia Copper that fits that well with that team. So there would have to be something else coming back from Los Angeles. I'm never a big, trade payroll guy, so it'd be hard for me to say. But I think you can't just give up 2 or 3 pieces for Candace Parker and not get somebody else back. So that would be the question. Then again,
another Sparks role player.
Right. Maybe like a Sidney Weiss, a dead-eye 3-point shooter, somebody to add to 3-point shooting. Maybe I don't think they would get Candace and Nneka Ogwumike. That would take too much from their scoring.
That'd be a fleecing.
Yeah, it would. Then I think there's too few teams in the WNBA for somebody to let them get away with that.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll bring David Stern back from the dead, but I had to veto that. I had to get that to veto.
My second part to that, Chris, how many more elite seasons does Candace have left, you think?
Well, I mean, Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi are 40, and they're still contributing at an elite level. I think, which is still crazy because they had to play overseas for every year prior to this one, and so this is really the first break that they've gotten throughout the year. So for them to be playing as they are, and for Candace to be playing as she is, she could play 5 more good years, maybe 6. Mm-hmm. You know, it depends on what she wants to do in her off time. Does she want to have more? Does she want to add to the family? You know, I think that's her choice from what we've seen with these players.
Does she want to add to her broadcasting career too?
Mm-hmm. That's also true. Like, what does she want to do? That's what I love to see. That does she? What do players want to do outside the sport? So that's all up to Candace.
Yeah, I just know I love to see her here. Not as much as Josh, maybe, but I would like to see her end her career in the area of her home.
Josh doing it again.
I don't know if it's Stevie J or Birdman that he's channeling.
Hey, if we're vouching for Candace to come home, we might as well vouch for AD to come home. Bring all the superstars home.
You know what? Why not?
We got to make this dude a Bears fan. He can't be coming back and still be rooting for Green Bay, man.
Yeah. That's not a good look. That's not what.
Yeah. You gonna have to sacrifice that.
Y'all know they're Chicago and Packers fans, man. Y'all know that. Y'all got to know that. They grew up with the Packers being good. It's as much as it hurts me. It's understandable, man.
It's understandable, but it's not justifiable. We got to change that.
I don't think Kyle buying it, man.
Man, Kyle roll with the Bucks, man. He ain't got no say here.
Hey, I'm rolling with them when they get a title.
He jumped back off.
Don't play me out like that, man.
Kyle, we ain't even talk about your fresh cut, man. We ain't even get to it.
I know. I put something up on IG, man. So, you know, I figured that was good enough to let the people know. You know, I gotta let them know when I'm feeling like a new man again. So, but yeah, I'm good though, man. But yeah, it's been another great show, man. Another great session with y'all, brothers. I appreciate you again. And yeah, let's do this again sooner than later. I know there's been some scheduling different changes, but you know, yeah, let's try to do this again within the next week. Maybe we'll get back next Sunday at the latest. But yeah, we're getting close to the finals, man. We're getting close to that time, man, where everybody's got something to say and everybody's eyes gonna be on the NBA. It's not gonna be like it typically is, because in June everybody's eyes are on the NBA, but you know, it's going to be a little more they're fighting with this time. But still, we're going to see a champion crowned, a new champion. And, you know, it could be LeBron and AD finally doing that thing, or it could be Jimmy Butler maybe asserting himself as a champion, or maybe those guys over in Boston, man, those young boys in Boston doing it. So,
can you imagine if Jimmy Butler wins a title?
Man.
How crappy we would feel? Like,
I ain't gonna let my guys, my D Rose diehards, let that down.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that's something we may need to get into too. I got well, who? Oh yeah, Drew. You was talking about that, Drew, with me about you know, how should we really look back on his time here and what it meant, and you know, I think we should. I never was really an anti-Jimmy guy. I know some people who have been at the time, and they were like, you know, well, good riddance. So I was never that really on that, but it's hard to argue at this point the positive impact that he has on teams. And you know, if you a soft dude like the couple dudes up in Minnesota, then He just ain't gonna mix this oil and water, you know, or one, you know, maybe one or two of the guys you can argue with Philly, but in Miami, he's got the team that he wants. That is their team that's kind of built in his image, and vice versa.
Them boys are dogs in Miami, man.
I got my fingers crossed for a Jimmy, LeBron, AD, and Bam matchup. Whew.
That could be a slugfest, man. So we gonna see how it goes, man. We gonna keep up on everything and keep on track and
save us, Jimmy G buckets. You're our only hope.
Chris, depending on you, man, to knock off the empire.
No, I will listen to all country for 2 months if Jimmy Butler wins the title. I swear. I book it, bro. I'm gonna listen to nothing but country music for 2 whole months.
Jimmy does love the country, yeah. but yeah,
I got him, man. I got him.
Yeah, let's leave it at that. I don't know if I'm gonna listen to country that much if Jimmy wins, but I listen to a little country anyway. You know, I don't mind country music. If it's from the soul, I dig it. You know, but just don't get into that. I'm proud to be an American stuff, man.
Oh no, Toby Keith is an asshole. He is. That is the guy who you've been like, yeah, this dude, he fucked up country for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think the original song was Lee Greenwood, the dude named Lee Greenwood made that. I'm proud to be in the man. Now we off that in 2020, man. So you know, let's keep it moving, man. Keep bouncing as always. WARR on Anchor, you'll be able to hear this podcast. WARR Media, I've been changing the names around, so if you're searching for us, search for WARR Media, WARR Media. That's on Twitter, that's on Facebook, on IG, and you know, We Are Regal Radio is still the website address, so you get all the good writing there, and yeah, that's it, man. This is it's been another good show, guys. Appreciate you guys. And yeah, let's enjoy another ball night. See how this game 2 plays out with the West, and you know, we'll see how the East goes too. You know, hopefully there'll be a couple of hopefully they won't be too bad a series as we're projecting them to be, and they'll be a little more competitive. But you know, till then, you know, we'll get till next time we holler at y'all. We'll get back at y'all.
Peace.
All right.